Margaret Cho, welcome to Vlad TV.
Thank you.
We have one of the great comedians of our day hanging out with us here.
Yeah, I guess, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you actually grew up in the Bay Area?
I grew up in San Francisco. I grew up in the 70s and comedy was really big, and there was a lot of different kinds of shows happening. And then the comedians that I knew around there were people like Robin Williams and Bobcat Goldthwait and Whoopi Goldberg. And then beyond, like so many people, I saw Paula Poundstone, Dana Carvey. I was really influenced by a lot of the people there, and I was doing comedy really, really young.
Like what age did you actually start doing comedy?
14. I started doing comedy at 14, but then I started to make an actual, like, I guess a living at it around 16.
Okay.
So I was doing like a lot of different things. Like I did comedy duo. I was in a comedy duo with an actor named Sam Rockwell, who's very well known now. Mm-hmm. He's a brilliant actor. But when we were kids, we did comedy together.
Now, your parents weren't too thrilled with the whole comedy thing.
Well, they didn't understand about comedy. They didn't really get it. There's no stand-up comedy in Korea, which I actually went to Korea recently, and I performed stand-up comedy there on SNL Korea, which is just like the SNL here.
Wow, there's an SNL Korea?
Yeah.
I did not know this.
There's an SNL Korea.
Wow, okay.
So I performed on there. It was the first stand-up comedy set they had ever seen in the whole country. So it was very unusual and different and exciting for them and for me.
Now, as a kid, you actually left school early.
Yes, I left school pretty early. I knew that I wanted to be a comedian. I knew that that was my life and my destiny, you know, and I just wanted to get started.
So, like, what age did you actually drop out of school?
I think I dropped out of school about 17, and I wasn't doing very well anyway. And I probably didn't really even go to school very much when I was 16, 17. I mean, I just was so focused on being a comedian, getting out there, doing shows, getting out on the road. I just wanted to do it.
Like, what did your parents have in store for you? You know, because you have traditional Asian parents.
I think my family really just wanted me to go to school, which is totally reasonable. But I had my own ideas, and I wanted to be a comedian.
Yeah. Now, your parents ran a gay bookstore?
Yeah, my parents had a bookstore that was in the gay neighborhood. It was on Polk Street, which was a very, very bustling, exciting place. And they had book signings by Armistead Maupin, and it was all very, it was all very gay, very new. And for them, it was this whole new world. And so they were kind of out of place. But I think I felt like I fit in really well there.
So your parents are first generation?
Yeah, I guess they're immigrants. So
yeah, so they're immigrants.
Yeah, is that the first generation? I don't know when first generation.
I don't know. I mean, I was born in Russia myself, so I guess I consider myself first generation, but I guess I'm zero generation.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
can never tell the difference between first and second generation. I don't
Yeah,
know what that was.
You were born in this country.
I was born here.
Okay, but your parents came over from Korea.
Yes.
Teenagers, that kind of thing?
They came over when they were in their early 20s to go to school. So they went to school here and also in France.
Okay.
So they ended up settling here.
So you have two Korean parents. They go to school here, but still culturally they're still very Korean because all their teens and everything was spent in Korea.
Yeah.
So they come over here, they start to build their life. How did they open up a gay bookstore?
They bought the gay bookstore from other guys, these gay guys who were running it, and they sold it to my parents. My parents kept the clientele, they kept the inventory, they kept the fact that this was sort of a meeting place and a big part of the social network then in San Francisco. You know, this is before social networking at all, you know, so you actually had to go to a place
to meet people.
To meet people.
Right.
to go to events, to talk about books, to read. So it was it was the Facebook of its day.
Sure. Now, early on, you figured out that you were bisexual.
Yeah, I thought I was gay at first, and then I realized that it was a lot more than I had initially thought. So growing up at a gay bookstore made me recognize and understand that I was gay, but then being bisexual, there wasn't a lot out there for me to sort of recognize or be reflected back at. Like, I didn't know what it was really, and so I just accepted it. At that time, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, we were always using the word queer too. That was something that made sense to us. At this point now, I know that that word has sort of gone out of fashion in a way, but I just identified sort of maybe an early adopter of queer and sort of going past LGBT.
So initially, you were into girls or into guys or both?
I was a gay, so I was a lesbian.
Okay, so you were into girls initially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your first experiences was with girls?
With women. And then also just identifying. I mean, it's not just, when you're gay, it goes beyond just sex. It's about your lifestyle and the way that you are with other people and the way that you dress and the way you are. I mean, there's so much to being gay that has very little to do with sexuality. It has more to do with society and how you present in society.
So at what point did you tell your parents that you were gay?
I told them very young. I mean, but they really didn't understand. They were like, oh, okay. You know, they just sort of thought that I was being very influenced by the culture around me and being in the bookstore and, you know, around the people, so that I was trying to be like them.
Right.
And then later...
Do you think some of that rubbed off on you?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that it just made it comfortable for me to be out and be there. I
mean, because I've always wondered about that. Like, if you had like for example, when you go to Thailand, and the Thai culture and the way they practice Buddhist culture, you know, because I was out there and I was speaking to people, they explained to me how out there, if you are a man who felt that he was actually a woman, you should be allowed to express that, and there isn't any sort of judgment or negativity around that. So you see a lot of like lady boys around Thailand, and it's totally normal. They work in restaurants, they have regular jobs, and it's not a weird thing. So when you have an environment where it's okay to be gay, do you feel that more people become gay, or?
Yeah, well, you just feel like it's okay to be yourself, and then so you're not feeling like you have to hold back at all, or feel like you need to express yourself differently than how you feel, I think. But it's also the social construct of being gay is very different from being straight. You know, it's like going, you know, you have your friends who are like you, and you feel comfortable there, and you fit in there.
Now, you identify as bisexual, though, not gay. So did you start dealing with men later on?
Yeah, and it was really confusing because I'd never really understood that you could be both. Even though there was LGBT, the B is often not heard from. You don't hear a lot from the bisexual.
Silent B.
Yeah, it's a silent B. It's a not very, like, there's so much more, or it seems like there's so much more representation for lesbians and gays and bisexual, like instead of bisexuals, it's transgendered. But the bisexual community is the least heard from, I believe. So it's more that I just thought you had to be one or the other. I thought you had to be either straight or gay. I didn't realize that there was a possibility that you could be both.